Hello everybody and welcome back to the Titan Tavern, where all guests and fans are welcome. I am your host Tristan, and today we are going to be talking about everything that the Titans have done in free agency and where they are sitting at in this upcoming draft, and honestly, what they should do. Alrighty, so jumping into this, we of course have some really good acquisitions, I would say, that the Titans have done. And of course, one of them being a lot of people questionable about the contract, including me a little bit, but it is a serious piece of need, and that would be Calvin Ridley with a 4-year, $92 million contract. Now, of course, Calvin Ridley is at the age of 29, so normally about that point, with a lot of receivers, you do see kind of a drop off once they do get past the age of 30 and into their late 30s, sometimes mid 30s. The Titans seemingly have full confidence that he is not going to be slowing down anytime soon. And with this, he was previously a wide receiver one, and he is getting paid wide receiver one money. Last season, he ended with 76 receptions for 1,016 yards, and had pretty much similar stats to DeAndre Hopkins in touchdowns, yards, and receptions. Now, I do think this could be a pretty nasty 1-2 combo with DeAndre Hopkins and Calvin Ridley, as long as neither one of them show any sign of regression. But I do think that DeAndre Hopkins and Calvin Ridley being the 1-2 punch for a receiving option for any quarterback would actually be very desirable. Now, of course, with that, the wide receiver room, D-Hop at 1, Ridley at 2, and then of course you have Nick Westbrook-Akine as well. That would be sitting at number 3. And then Treylon Burks would be sitting at 4. Now, this it's not close to what I predicted. I predicted Hollywood Brown and T. Higgins. However, pretty much I think it's safe to say that if T. Higgins gets traded somewhere, it's definitely not going to be Tennessee. It's going to be another team for sure at this point. As far as it goes for any trades or anything, I think the Titans are set in stone for signings and everything. And of course, Hollywood Brown went to Kansas City for a 1-year deal. Just going to make that offense even better. But I do think this is a pretty good 1, 2, 3, and 4 for Will Levis to be throwing the ball to. I think we're going to be doing a much more aerial attack this season, and I'm hoping to see that. And I think this is actually the groundwork for kind of a good path. And of course, next up we've got trying to replace the loss of Derrick Henry whenever it was basically set in stone that he was going to be done in Nashville. One of the most consistent players and one of the better Titans in the team history. Of course, losing him hurts the team a lot, but let's just go ahead and say it's a business, it needs to be done. Let's go ahead and hope that he gets a ring. He definitely deserves it. after everything he has done for 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 the Titans. But in trying to replace him, of course, we have Spears, who I think, and I've already acknowledged, is going to be the best the number one running back. And I think he's going to be a top 5 running back next season. With that, he's going to have some assistance in the backfield. And that's, of course, going to be Tony Pollard, who the Titans signed for a 3-year, $24 million deal. Basically, last season, he didn't have a good one, Tony Pollard. And with this, it's basically just going to say if he's really worthy of being a bell cow back, which last season I don't know if it was Dallas's line, if it was their play calling, if it was just the way they were running their offense, but it just never felt like Pollard could get anything. He had a few good games, but he could just never stay consistent. And that is something that's terrifying about having a player is inconsistency. Now we're all just gonna be hoping that Spears gets better and Pollard stays consistent and just helps out in the backfield. I do think he can be of good use. It's a low risk deal. You have him until, I believe he's 26 right now. You have him until he's 29. Depending on when his birthday is. 29 or 30. So you do have him for a while for a cheap deal. I do think there's really not a lot of risk unless it's just after the first season and he's just not good at all. But I don't see that happening. But the running back by committee is essentially how I foresee the Titans running their offense for the running game. Of course, they got Lloyd Cushenberry, a 4-year, $50 million deal with $26 million guaranteed. It's just a little bit of a realism thing. It's just insane talking about these deals. I know, like, baseball is way more out of hand with like what these people get, but man, it's just insane the amount of money that these people get. But I love this signing. Thank you, Den, for letting him walk. He's an upgrade in every single way for center. That's all. He's pretty much going to be the center until, if he gets replaced by somebody significantly younger and better, he gets replaced. But I mean, I don't see that happening. I think he's going to stay a Titan for a while. And of course, the Titans also signed Sebastian Joseph Day. After losing Danico Autry, Titans really needed to re-add somebody back onto that defensive line, which was honestly one of the few strong points of the team last season. It's patchwork. He's a good veteran. He's consistent, and he can get pressure. But just signing another person to help out Jeffrey Simmons, he's going to need a little bit more. He's going to need a little bit more help with holding that line, with getting pressure, with getting sacks. Just causing mistakes on the offensive side. He's going to need assistance, and that's basically what this signing is. Basically trying to be like a Danico Autry replacement. Which sucks because as a Titans fan, I did like Danico Autry. He is now playing for the Houston Texans. Hope for the best for him. as well as Al Shazier. I hope the best for those two, because the Texans stole them both from the Titans. And of course, you've got Nick Westbrook-Akine. Both him and Joseph Day signed one-year contracts. Details about money wasn't included, but Westbrook-Akine, I think the Titans should have. I think they should keep him around even longer. He's one of the most consistent pieces we have had since he has been on this team. Since he's become a Titan, he's been one of the most consistent pieces on this team for offense. I believe it said, yeah, he played 69%, almost 70% of offensive snaps this season. That's, if you know Titans football, it's just kind of like Ravens. We're just like the Ravens in one way. Injuries are aplenty, so having somebody that plays that many snaps and is just a wide receiver, with how everything is for offense in the NFL, that's insane. Consistency is amazing. I think keeping him around, 1-year deal, I think I would have extended him for a little bit longer, because all in all, he is a really good blanket wide receiver, just very consistent. And then, of course, you've got the Titans signing, well, basically keeping 39-year-old Nick Folk as our kicker. It's not a shock at all. 1-year deal because of age. You know, whether he wants to play next season or not is totally up to him. But, I mean, come on. You make 96.7% of your field goals and 28 out of 30 extra points. You barely have any misses, and you're one of the most consistent kickers in NFL history. Why would you not want to just say, we're not getting rid of him? You know, listen, special teams are something that is recognized as special because they're hard to land on. It's hard to get good kickers in the NFL, and here recently we have seen that plenty with kickers just being terribly inconsistent, with punters getting just really bad and rough punts. You know, it's just, and even long snappers too, them botching the ball, the quarterback or whoever they have for holding the snap, messing that up. Special teams is incredibly hard to hold down for anything. So having a consistent kicker as somebody you can rely on is key to any NFL game. You're not gonna win a lot of games if you don't have a kicker. Teams have won games without kickers, but they struggled. But they also replaced them as well with people that they literally had practice tryouts before games. You saw it with Houston, and you saw it with Kansas City, where they literally had their players practicing hitting extra points, because every point counts. Because it doesn't matter how much you win by, it just matters as long as you just win, as long as your score is 1 point or more than your opponent's, then you win. It doesn't matter whether it's a 6-7 game, a 42-41 game, a 27-14 game. It doesn't matter. Your kicker is still crucial. But besides that, little rant about special teams. Of course, you've also got Kenneth Murray Jr. From the Chargers. He's coming off one of his best seasons, but the Chargers denied his 5th-year option, so he just walked, and Titans got him for 2 years for $18 million. Low risk. He's coming off of his best season. We just want to make sure that he's leaving everything about the Chargers organization, including chargering, which yes is a official word in Los Angeles. And if we ever go to Los Angeles to play either the Rams or the Chargers, let's just hope it doesn't even come back. But he can be a dangerous player, and he can be very good. Betting on himself, taking a low deal after coming off of his best season. Players can be very dangerous whenever they are wanting to just prove themselves. And then, of course, we've got the two next signings, which I love both of these signings. You got Chidobe Awuzie, who was coming from Cincinnati for a 3-year, $25.5 mil, and 17.5 is guaranteed. He is also at the age of 29, so we'll have him until he's 32. Basically, he's just a flat-out upgrade for the defensive backs, and it's also great having a very seasoned veteran in the defensive back core. While he's not the best at getting interceptions, I believe in his career he's only had 6. But playing defensive back, it's not always about intercepting the ball. It's about protecting from the pass, and that's something that he is very, very good at. Now, of course, I see his role as being huge for helping the younger defensive backs, as well as just being a key point in the secondary. And I love that signing. Low risk, high reward, I think, because as long as he is better than what we've had, it's overall a great upgrade. Let's see here. And then, of course, you have the only trade that the Titans have really done during this offseason. Of course, we've traded away pieces during the season, like Kevin Byard. We traded away to Philly. I don't know why, but I guess the Titans and Philly just really like each other. I'm honestly surprised that Mike Vrabel didn't somehow end up in Philadelphia, but he's now in Cleveland with the Browns. I don't know. I guess the Eagles and the Titans have their own line that they have, but but other than that, the Titans traded for L'Jarius Sneed, giving up a 2024 7th round pick and a 2025 3rd round pick. Now, really, both sides of this trade won. Kansas City won because they saved $20 million in cap space for this, which is going to allow them to sign a need for them. But of course, the Titans also won it because they got a person that allowed 0 touchdowns in the entire regular season. The entire regular season did not allow a single touchdown on him. One of the best defensive backs in the league, L'Jarius Sneed. However, they got him for so cheap because the Chiefs didn't want to pay him what he felt his worth. But the Titans most certainly did. He is getting paid for the next 4 years, $76.4 mil. And of course, the Titans got overall upgrades in a lot of facets. We got a much better center. We got an upgrade at wide receiver 2. We are We're keeping a very consistent wide receiver 3. We've signed 2 great defensive backs. We got Kenneth Murray, who I think can prove himself to be a very good linebacker. We're keeping our kicker, which again is needed. And then you just got upgrades all around, which is something that the Titans really just needed to say. This free agency we're gonna spend, because we've got a quarterback that we want to develop. We've got a new head coach. Let's just see what happens, and let's just have fun football back in Nashville. Alrighty, and after discussing the whole free agency madness that this has been, trust me, we haven't even gotten into the other teams, but this free agency was crazy, and it was enjoyable all around. But going into the next step of the offseason, the draft. Now, the Titans, of course, have a pick in round 1 at pick number 7, round 2 at 38, round 4 at 106, round 5, 146, round 6, pick 182, and 3 picks in round 7, being 221, 242, and 252. Basically, it's been pretty clear who I want for the Titans to draft in round 1. And that has been, and I'll go ahead and say it again, Joe Alt. One of the best linemen in this entire draft. By far one of the Titans' biggest needs is offensive line. And honestly, what I think from that point, if Joe Alt falls to number 7, the rest of the draft, you just say, let's grab a young receiver, let's grab some young defensive players, and that's it. I think what the Titans should do is, if round 1, if Joe Alt falls to them, they take him. If, however, craziness happens and he isn't able to fall, then I would say Rome Odunze. Because he is, other than Michael Pittman Jr., who's definitely not making it past Arizona. Unless there's any trades that happen, basically. I think Rome Odunze is the second best choice if Joe Alt is not there. But you take Joe Alt. In round 2, you take a receiver. And then round 4, 5, 6, and 7, you take whatever you please at defensive back, linebacker, or D-line. And that's pretty much all I think about for this draft. First 2 rounds, you go offense. You get a lineman, you get a receiver. If you can't get a lineman in round 1, you get one in round 2. And then from 4 to 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you use the next 6 picks on defense. Or you can grab another wide receiver, or you can use one of those 6 picks to grab another wide receiver. You can use one of those 6 to take a kicker. Whatever you want. You don't need a backup quarterback. You got Mason Rudolph, who I totally forgot to include in this list because it's so I realize that as I'm talking about this now, I totally forgot to mention that the Titans also signed Mason Rudolph. But yeah, he's a backup. It's as simple as that. He's going to be a backup. Oh man, But mentioning that you don't need a draft quarterback. You got Will Levis as your starter. You got Mason Rudolph. You don't need a running back because you got Spears and you got Tony Pollard. You can take a receiver. You desperately need a new pieces to the O-line. You can even take 2 pieces of offensive linemen in this draft. That's the thing with just these late round picks. Honestly, just go either a heavy defense and grab another kicker or a wide receiver, or just whatever makes sense, as long as it's not a running back or a quarterback, because neither one of those picks are really going to make any sense. Or a punter, because we do have one of the best punters in the league. As long as he doesn't get destroyed by the Indianapolis Colts and don't get anything for it, like call out to the Colts there. I mean, for injuring the Titans punter, and you didn't even get flagged for it. But oh well. I don't like Indy anyways. It's okay. But seriously, just go with pieces. Go with defensive line, offensive line, defensive backs, linebackers, another wide receiver. Depth is never bad to have, and options are never bad to have. And that is all I have for today, folks. Now, of course, if you like this video, please leave a like. And if you want to stick around and listen to me ramble even more about the Tennessee Titans, just wait until we get to the football season, because oh goodness, that's going to be a lot of rambling. But seriously, if you like the video, please leave a like, comment your thoughts, your opinions. If you agree with me, if you disagree with me, if you want to listen to more of my ramblings, go ahead, hit that subscribe button. It helps me out a lot. Of course, also hit that share button. Share it to other people. And, all 4 of those things help out a lot. But that's all I got for today. And of course, as always, if it isn't obvious, tighten up, baby.